Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm part of a blog hop that's happening right now for Spellbinders and Fun Stampers Journey. They're celebrating some brand new collections from Fun Stampers Journey. And so today I get to share a few projects with you for these new collections. Now, also, if you want to join in the blog hop, there is a chance to win a $50 online store credit to the Spellbinder shop. Details for this are over on my blog. If you want to check it out, I'll leave links down below. Now, for today's projects, I'm going to be using a few items that are in the Starry Night project kit. This is the entire kit here. Lots and lots in here. 2 stamp sets, stencils, dies, and then there's 4 projects with step-by-step instruction tutorials on how to create 4 extra cards with everything that you need for that. Super fun kit, but for today's card I'm going to create some cards using the kit contents. So we're going to jump in. I'm going to start off by inking up the background stamp here. This is called the Galaxy background stamp, and it will fit an entire A2 size card front, which is perfect. There is like a constellation on there, and then there's planets and stars. So it's basically a beautiful galaxy background. I'm going to ink up my stamp with my VersaFine ink and stamp that on some white cardstock. We're going to do some heat embossing. So I did treat my paper with my anti-static powder tool. We'll just remove this and we'll go over our stamped image. I only stamped once, so I was double checking to make sure I got all my stamping right. But I'm going to go over my images with my silver embossing powder, and then using my heat gun I'm going to go ahead and melt that. So there we have it. Super pretty. Okay, since I do like panels on front of my cards, I'm going to trim off a 1/4 inch off of the left here, and then also off of the bottom here. So this will leave me a little bit of a white border on my card base. Lovely. Okay, I'm going to take a circle die and cut out a window in this panel. After the window is cut out, I wanted to add a little bit of color, and I didn't want to use dark colors. I wanted to go bright. Since the blog hop today is called Hello Summer, I wanted to use some nice bright cherry color. So this is Wilted Violet. It's a distress oxide ink, and just using my blending brush I'm going to do a little shading on the edge around my panel, kind of leaving a little bit of a halo around my window. So my window, it goes white and then soft purple and then to a darker purple. Okay, I'm going to cover it with acetate, just using my tape runner, and then pop up my background panel with some foam tape. We're going to create a shaker, like I said. Now for my sentiment, I'm going to die cut a small rectangle, and then I'm going to stamp my sentiment on here. I'm going to be using the stamp set called Dream Seeker. It's a fully loaded stamp set, and I chose the sentiment that says Dream, Seek, and Achieve. I think that's a very inspiring sentiment here. I'll stamp that with my VersaFine ink towards the upper portion of my little rectangle here. And then just using whatever leftover ink that's on my blending brush, I'm going to add a little bit of shading. It's kind of subtle, but it's there. Okay, we're going to do a little tucking, so I'm going to trim off the bottom portion of my sentiment here. I'm going to trim a little bit more so we can see the window behind it. And we'll just tuck it on the very bottom, kind of curling up that corner a little bit for some dimension. Okay, now both the stamp sets that I'm using today, along with this huge jar of sequins, are from the Starry Night bundle, project bundle. And I'll list the products individually down below, guys, and then I'll also list the bundle. The bundle is a great value because of everything that you get in it. If you were to purchase it individually, it could get quite expensive. So I think the bundle is a perfect price for that. But I added some sequins. The sequin mix is has seed beads in there, stars, multicolored sequins, just beautiful. And I only did one layer of foam tape because I didn't want them to move around too much, but it still made noise with those seed beads in there. But I filled it pretty full. I'm going to go ahead and take my panel and place it on my A2 size card base. Lovely. And then I'm going to take some extra sequins, some extra stars, and some purple and violet sequins, and kind of trail from the upper right hand corner to the bottom left. Just trailing that sequin mix kind of outside of the circle, trailing it down. Okay, I thought my window wasn't complete for me. So what I'm doing is taking a circle frame die here, and I'm going to, this one was thinner, and I like the thinner one, but it was just a little too big, so I'm going to use this next size down. And this is going to go perfectly as a frame around my shaker window. And I thought the white kind of went a lot better with that white border on my card base. And this kind of brought it all together for me. I had to remove one of the stars there, but no worries, because we'll just glue that back on our shaker window here. So this card was pretty simple, but I really love the outcome, and I love the encouraging sentiment that came with it. That finishes off my first project. Okay, here's a close-up. Now we are going to work on card number 2. For card number 2, I'm taking a piece of white cardstock, and we're going to stamp some images. I'm going to use one of the, there's 2 whales in the stamp set. I know that the whale that on this card is called an orca, only because I watched Free Willy. So I'm going to stamp that, and I was going to use my VersaFine ink, but I thought we'll go ahead. I have a pretty juicy Memento ink pad, so I'm going to go ahead and ink everything up with my Memento ink pad, along with the planet. I'm going to stamp that. I'm going to go over the orca one more time, just to make sure it's nice and vivid and black. And that's the great thing about this whale, is you don't have to do no coloring. The coloring is already there for you. Now I wanted to create a moon, so I'm going to use some gray Copic markers to shade in my planet here. This could be a planet, an Earth, or it could be a moon. In fact, my next card, I created a Earth planet with it. But I wanted a moon to go with my sentiment for this card. So I went over my entire planet with C1, and then I'll do a little shading with my darkest gray, which is a C4, and I'll blend that out a little bit with my C3, and then I'm going to go over all of it once more with my C1. And that makes a great moon. Now, if you get the bundle, there is coordinating dies that go with this stamp set that's also included in it. Or if you don't want the bundle, just like the stamp set, there are coordinating dies that you could buy separately. But I'm going to fussy cut out my whale and my moon. I don't have the coordinating die, so they're pretty easy to cut out. And I did leave a little bit of a white border. Okay, now we're going to stamp our sentiment. It's on the larger side. So I'm bringing in my Misty, and I'm using my rectangle as a guide because I am going to cut out a panel that's this size here. I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says, shoot for the moon, and if you miss it, you'll be among the stars. I love that sentiment. I chose to stamp it first and then die cut out my panel because with the red rubber, sometimes I have a tendency to, if I don't use my Stamp-A-Majig, I'll get it crooked. So this was the next best thing. But I cut out my panel here, and I'm just kind of arranging my elements how I want them. And then I thought we were going to add a little sparkle. So in the stamp set, there's a galaxy starburst swirly image. I'm going to stamp that 2 times with my Versamark ink. And then I'm going to go over it with some sparkly embossing powder. This is like an iridescent silvery embossing powder. I wanted to keep this card gender neutral, so I didn't want to add too much sparkle, and I thought this was perfect with the silver tones to it. I'm going to go ahead and use my heat gun and melt those. And it does have a little silver iridescent hue to it. Okay, lovely. Now we're going to arrange our little elements. I'm going to go ahead and glue down my whale to my moon. And then I'll flip both of these over at once and then add some foam tape behind there. I'm not going to remove the release paper off of the foam squares just yet because I wanted to stamp some stars. So we already have the moon, but I did want to fill it in a little bit more with some stars. So there's a few stars in the stamp set here, and this stamp set is called Dream Seeker, I believe, and it's part of the bundle or individual. But I'll stamp 4 of these beautiful stars. Lovely. Now I'm just going to use one yellow Copic marker and color them in just to add a little bit of color, because so far we have some blacks and grays and silvers. So I thought we'd bring in a little bit of color with my yellow Copic marker here. Once those are filled in, we'll go ahead and remove the release paper off of our images and adhere those to our panel. I love that. Okay, we're going to flip this over. I'm going to add some foam tape behind here. And then for my card base, I chose a very soft gray card base that's A2 in size. This panel is going to go right in the middle. Fix that edge there. Okay, now I wanted to bring in a little bit more sparkle because I figured it went really well with the stars. So I'm bringing in some Nuvo glitter drops. The color is Silver Moon Dust. I'm going to go add a few little dots to the moon and then also around our little stars just to add a little more sparkle. And that completes that card. Okay, we're going to move along to our third and final project for today. I want to create a very bright and colorful card. And I just realized the whole time my glass mat was crooked. I'm sorry about that. That just drove me crazy. Okay, I'm going to use the stencil. And again, the stencil is available separately, but it is part of the bundle. And I'm going to adhere this just using some tape to a panel that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. I'm going to tape that down, and I wanted to bring in some blues and purples. So we're going to start off with some Broken China Distress Oxide ink. And I'm going to use my blending tool and just go over the lower portion of this trail of stars. The stencil is really neat because it's very concentrated in one corner, and then it lightens up as it gets to the opposite corner. So it creates a real pretty trail. And I wanted 2 different color of stars in here. So I'm just starting off by adding a little shading with, again, my Broken China, and then I'm going to take my Wilted Violet and go over the top portion of my stars. And it creates these 2 colors together, really pretty and bright. I'm going to bring in some more scratch paper and mask off that top area. And I'm kind of overlapping in the middle, so they kind of create a different color. Okay, we're just going to remove our stencil, and you can see the beautiful image that we have. Love this. Pretty. I'm going to take my paper trimmer and again trim off a 1/4 inch off of the right side and also off the bottom. So this way I have a little bit of a border on my card base. Okay, after we have this done, I'm going to go ahead and work on my card base. The cardstock that I'm using is from Fun Stamper's Journey, and I'm not sure if it's sold individually or not, but if it is, I'll list it down below also. But it's a beautiful, soft purple. I'm going to create my card base by trimming my 8 1/2 by 11 sheet right in half, and then I'll just score one piece right down the middle to create my card base. We'll go ahead and use the tape runner to adhere our panel right in the center of our card base. This way we have a nice purple border. And now we get to stamp our images. For this card, I chose the other whale, and I don't know the name of that one. I haven't seen no movies with this whale. Or, well, nope, I haven't. I'm going to stamp both the planets that are in the stamp set. Now, just to save a little bit of time, I did color off screen. But again, I created an Earth with the planet here on top, and then one planet, purple planet, And then my whale I colored in with some blues and purples. I wanted to go really bright with this one. Now I'm just kind of playing around with my placement. I'm going to go ahead and add some foam squares behind each of these elements. And then I did use the sentiment that says dream, seek, and achieve for this card as well. I just stamped it on a piece of white cardstock, and then I did the same thing I did with my first card, added a little bit of shading with the leftover ink on my blending brush. And I kind of got it a little crooked, so I'm trying to fix it. And I think that looks great. Okay, for a little sparkle for this card, I'm going soft, so I'm using some Nuvo glitter drops in White Blizzard, and I'm adding it around the rings on the planet here. And then I did also add little dots on my trail of stars in the background. I'm going to add a few little dots to our planet, and then I thought, you know, I want to add a little sparkle to our whale too, so I'm going to bring in my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen. And we're going to go over our whale. It's going to give a nice shimmer glossiness to him. We're going to go over the green area on our planet and then also our purple planet here. And that finishes off project number 3. So here's a look at all 3 cards that I made today, guys, using some brand new collections over at the Spellbinder shop. I encourage you to check it out. This collection here is called Starry Night, but there's also another one called Splash Zone with mermaids and ocean themed. So neat. A lot of projects going on right now. I encourage you to check out the blog hop. I'll leave the Spellbinders link down below in case you guys want to start at the beginning. It's always a great place to start. But thanks so much for joining me, guys. I wish you a fantastic day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.